I think that the trophy that they've won recently does make it seem like Newcastle are doing particularly better than them. But if you really look at it contextually, then you would notice that they're both on the same level.
Good day to our fans and viewers at home. It's good to be back on today's show. The show, as you are aware, is the Late Go podcast. Eid Mubarak to our Muslim faithfuls. And since the last time on this show, a lot has happened. Nigeria has made life difficult for herself in the World Cup qualifiers. Newcastle has ended a 7-decade trophy drought. The UEFA Nations League has produced the last four, which comprise of the last three winners, and Germany hoping to be the fourth winner. We've also had the Champions League quarterfinal draws present itself with the Titanic. Is it a Titanic clash? Arsenal hosting Madrid. We've also had a managerial shake-up in Italy, where Juventus have asked Thiago Motta, the man that was so sought after last summer, and they've brought in a club legend in Igor Tudor. Before I continue, Yinka, Super Eagles refused to soar at all. We are now fourth on 7 points, and we have 4 matches left to go. Is there hope that would make it to the World Cup next year?
Well, good evening, everyone, or good day, depending on when you're listening to this. It's been a long time, and I'm glad that we're finally back again. With regards to the Super Eagles, well, they say hope dies last, so I'll say there's still hope. It's just that it's a very thin hope. We need to win all our games, or at least hope that other results work in our favor. I think that if they wanted to give themselves the best chance of qualifying, they should have won. They should have won both games that they played over the international break. A win at Rwanda and a win at home to against Zimbabwe would have helped our cause a lot. But fortunately, it is what it is. We're only able to pick up 4 points out of the available 6. There's still a bit of hope, but with the way that the way that the team has been dropping points over this qualifying campaign, I'm not too hopeful. Obviously, there is hope if you look at it from a general perspective. But I think we have 1 win from the 6 games played so far, 5 or 6 games played so far.
2 wins.
2 wins, and we have 2 or 3 draws. We're struggling to pick up wins. So it's difficult. We're still going away to South Africa, if I remember well. I think we're going to. I think Rwanda is still coming.
We are hosting Rwanda in September, and we are going away to South Africa also in September. Ahmed, Ahmed has some inclination of the Super Eagles.
Good day, everyone. Very good to be back. Talking about the chances of the Super Eagles picking out 3 points in South Africa, that is a very tough task. So this South Africa side is one that putting up consistent performances. In fact, they have this resistance against the current Nigerian side, which was very evident in the last Nations Cup. We had to rely on penalty shootouts to get one over them. So now going over to South Africa, our backs against the wall, strongly doubt that we can get what we need. That is, we can get the victory we need over in South Africa because they are really with confidence. They are very good side. They are opposite of what we have in Nigeria. Little stars, you understand, but they are depending on a very good league system and
They are
boys that are
dedicated.
ready to. Yes, dedicated. That's the word. They are dedicated. Very good league. Little media attention. You understand? So I don't see us going there and getting all 3 points. So with that, I would say our chances are close to nothing at this point. And we still have to go away to
Uh,
Lesotho. And you should know currently there is this romance between South Africa and
no,
our
no, no.
Mustafa neighbors.
We are hosting we are hosting Lesotho. South Africa is the only away game we have
Is there
left.
even guarantee that we can beat Lesotho in Nigeria?
That's the
At all.
point. So there is this union between South Africa and their Mustafa neighbors. Currently, there is even the rumor of Lesotho dropping their uh, protest against South Africa for fielding an ineligible player, so to say. But there is nothing that seems to be confirmed as of now because the ruling body has not come out to establish if there is a case uh, on that subject matter. So right now, it is very tough for Nigeria. We have managed to put ourselves in a very strong, tough position.
Yinka, the last time Nigeria was at the World Cup was in 2018, and I want to bring you back to a discussion we had on some episode in the past, and that is talking about the magnitude uh, of AFCON. I know we're not talking about AFCON, we're talking about the World Cup here. Uh, how much of a dent is it on African football to have Nigeria was at the finals of the last AFCON. Imagine the next World Cup and there is no Nigeria there. How much of a dent is that on African football?
Well, it does depend on the way you look at it. On one end, you could say it's a shame that Africa would not be producing its best teams at the World Cup. But on the other hand, you could argue that what this means is that, Africa is actually very competitive when it comes to, the type of teams that we've got available, where you can have a team like Nigeria not making it out of a group that consists of Zimbabwe, Lesotho, Rwanda, and South Africa, despite the fact that two teams can actually, come out of that group, even though one qualifies automatically and the other one goes through the playoff. So it depends on how you want to spin it, really. I could argue that, well, this says a lot about African football. We've got teams that can compete even against the so-called world stars. I wouldn't call them world class stars, but when I say world stars, in terms of experience, they've been to European leagues, they've been to the Champions League, Europa League, and the likes. And then you have players that possibly play in the African League, maybe a few of them in the so-called lower leagues in Europe. Giving them a run for their money and taking points off them. So it's an argument that you can make for both sides, really.
Just to buttress your point, Italy, the winners of the Euro 2020, have missed two World Cups back to back.
Uh-huh. And nobody's saying that
And
Europe is a poor
heaven did not
continent.
fall.
Exactly.
So, fair point. Depends on where your argument is facing. Actually,
Exactly.
uh, if CAF comes out and takes 3 points from South Africa, I believe Nigerians will move from uh, ordinary calculator to scientific calculator because that will bring South Africa to 10 points and just 3 points will be between Nigeria and South Africa. But then we still have to go to South Africa and beat them, which is a bigger ask than CAF taking 3 points from South Africa.
I'm not even going
Uh,
to lie to you. I'm more worried about those games that we're playing at home than because I do think that we can do enough to get a draw at South Africa. Those boys, when they want to be serious, they can be serious. But against those teams that I didn't see any reason why they shouldn't have beaten Zimbabwe and beaten them thoroughly. against those teams that you'd expect them to easily win against, they just struggle, and that's where my worry lies.
Well,
Well,
some of that blame will go to the coaching crew because the way the game was managed is nothing to write home about. We went through that game. We started well, actually. We were creating chances, but there was a little to write home about as far as chance conversion is concerned. We missed a lot of chances, but luckily we got ahead late
yeah.
into the game. Then at some point, Osimhen was injured.
Then we lost it.
You had to bring in a Boniface. You understand? The problem now is if Boniface is coming in, we had Tolu up front, so Boniface is another striker. The problem now here is he is not playing as a second striker. They are not playing as a striking player. I saw Boniface as far back as in the midfield position. So why not bring in a midfielder, control and manage the game at that late hour? You understand? Not bringing a Boniface who was trying to play as a midfielder at that point. Those were poor substitutions, if you ask me. So I think we actually brought this on ourselves, starting from the selection, starting from the number of players that were called up. We had Frank Onyeka in Augsburg. Right before now, he was playing in Brentford, not consistently, but he was usually getting a call up to the national side. Now that he's playing week in, week out in Germany with Augsburg. So are you telling me he's gone bad? You understand? Favoritism and stuff like that is actually a problem that has been facing a Super Eagles side for a long while now. And again, it has come to play on this occasion. So now we have put ourselves in a very dangerous situation. Let's see how we get ourselves out of the situation.
We are a country that knows how to pray, so we will pray.
I hope on March the 10th, they are not pouring water on our
And our
coach's
coach,
head.
he should be used to it already.
At least you've seen him taking such position. He
Moving
has
on
started bending down.
sharply.
The only thing is the water is not coming yet.
He's sweating profusely. I'm pitying the man. The man is sweating profusely. The only thing missing is to empty a jug of water on his head. We look forward to match day 7
And it's
and 8 in September. The qualifier rounds up in October. We'll be hosting the Republic of Benin at home. Hopefully by that time we still have something to play for. Moving on, Newcastle dug deep against Liverpool, and they did. I don't know if I should call it the unthinkable, and they beat and slaughtered Liverpool. Uh, there have been a lot of mention of fatigue. Liverpool were not in the game, but then Newcastle dug deep, and they were deserving of their victory on the night. Eddie Howe has delivered a trophy to Newcastle finally, even before uh, Spurs. Yinka, where do you see this team going from here? Is this the best they can do, or do you expect more from them?
I would say it depends on what their owners decide to do from here. Usually, when a team wins and the project is designed in such a way that you want them to continue winning, then you have to put certain things in place to ensure that that winning continues. One of those things is to invest in that team. I would also like to mention that Newcastle team is not as bad as people say it is. You have very good players in that squad, and a game between Liverpool and Newcastle is not that you would completely give Liverpool 100% chance of winning. No matter how bad it is, you would still give Newcastle a chance of causing an upset, even if it's say 30% or 40%, because they actually have a decent team. And let's not forget that they were in the final of the Carabao Cup, I think about 2 years ago, against
Yeah,
Eric Ten Hag's Manchester United, if I'm not.
Manchester
They've, al-
United.
they've always been coming close. Well, I wouldn't say always, but they've come close recently. They've developed on that team, and they now have a stronger team. So the way that game was, the result of that game was not particularly an upset. Now it depends on the ownership. I'm not sure how they are doing financially now, because I'm hearing that they need to sell some players to balance the books. They need to do this, they need to do that. If they make it into Euro, then it means that there's more scrutiny of their finances because, UEFA pays a lot of attention to stuff like this. But the responsibility now lies on ownership to make the decision on whether they want to keep winning or whether they want to develop on this. Because sometimes in situations like this, all the players need is that winning experience. Once you experience winning for the first time, once and the owner is willing to invest, the club can then say, okay, we've tasted this, let's try again another time. Even if it's another Carling Cup or FA Cup, let's make it to the Champions League. Then you build from there. Let's try to make it to the Champions League consistently. So we'll see what their owners do this summer. Hopefully they don't lose the sack. I'm hearing that they do not have an agreement with him on the new contract. Hopefully they don't lose the sack and they're able to get some quality players to add to that squad, because that midfield for me, especially the starting three, is massive. They can crush any midfield as far as I'm concerned. So if you can add a bit of flair to that midfield, add someone to support the sack, add a bit of extra defenders, then the sky is the limit for them.
Okay, Ahmed, there's another team that is being built in the model of Newcastle, and that is Aston Villa. They are currently in the Champions League quarterfinals. They are gunning for Europe again next season. Uh, I'm not sure they would make the Champions League, but they are gunning for Europe again next season. Emery is not a Emery is not a small boy manager. He's an household name in Europe. Do you see Aston Villa matching up to Newcastle in, let's say, a season or two?
Well, when we say matching up, it has to do with when we are comparing sides that are actually levels above one another. I wouldn't say Newcastle currently are head and shoulders above Aston Villa, because currently the peak of Newcastle's achievements is I think they were in the Champions League last season also, and this time around they made it and actually won a trophy, which is the Carabao Cup. But time and chance happened to everyone. They actually played Liverpool at a very good time as far as Newcastle is concerned. Knowing fully well that Liverpool are coming out from a bad period. In the last 1 month, they've been on very bad. They got knocked out in the FA Cup to Plymouth, struggling Plymouth side. Deservedly got knocked out of the UCL. You understand? So they are actually in a not so good moment. So Newcastle, they've done well to actually make advantage of the momentum, and they wanted it more on that night, and they are currently the Carabao Cup champion. But comparing that to Aston Villa, I wouldn't say Aston Villa are far behind. You understand? They're actually doing relatively better than Newcastle this season, if you have to ask me, because the strides they've made in the UCL it's something you don't expect from an Aston Villa side. They went to Bayern Munich and did the unthinkable. You understand? They are now at the quarterfinal stage of UCL, where bigger sides like AC Milan and Juventus and Liverpool has been sent packing. You understand? And they are still in the running for UCL
Who are
qualification.
those? Who are those?
They are still in
Who
the
are those clubs?
running for UCL qualification. So on that scale, I wouldn't say they are having an inferior season compared to Newcastle. So I think I would judge their performance equally, so to say. And if they continue on this pace, they can still actually overtake Newcastle, because before now they don't have as much funding as Newcastle had. They had this their Arabian bag management that they went on a spending spree at some point. They had the watchers to go to Milan and get Tonali from Milan. Aston Villa doesn't have as much financial backing, you understand, compared to Newcastle. But they have a tactician who has been excellent, relatively. It's done well for them. They are doing really well. You can't go to Aston Villa, be it a Man City, be it a Liverpool. You can't go to Aston Villa and be confident you're going to come out with all 3 points. They are that good at this point. And if they continue on um, on this pace, they can actually get a trophy to show for their hard work, like Newcastle just did with the Carabao Cup. So they are kudos to them. They are equally doing well like Newcastle.
Yinka, any addition?
Well, not much to add. I would agree with Ahmed actually. I think both clubs are on the same level when you look at what they are trying to achieve and what they are actually achieving as well. The only difference would be obviously the trophy that Newcastle just won. But sometimes we get carried away by trophies that we forget to see the actual work that certain clubs are doing. And this is not me saying trophies are not relevant. Trophies are very relevant. But in this context, you wouldn't say that Aston Villa are not doing well, or you wouldn't say that Newcastle are doing better than Aston Villa. We have two teams that have made it to the Champions League recently. One is currently in the Champions League and has gone as far as the quarterfinals. Still trying to qualify for Champions League this season, and they could actually make it, especially when you consider the fact that the fifth spot is up for grabs in the Premier League this season as well. So both clubs are in the running for Champions League spots. They're both doing well, regardless of how you look at it. So I agree completely with Ahmed. I think that the trophy that they've won recently does make it seem like Newcastle are doing particularly better than them. But if you really look at it contextually, then you would notice that they're both on the same level. Really.
Yinka, finally on this subject matter, are these two teams finally replacing Tottenham Hotspurs?
Well, Tottenham. Well, that's it. Well, replacing uh would be I would say that would be
You
an
made it sound like
exaggeration.
that's Tottenham's home. You made it sound like they are typical top four
Exactly.
side.
I mean, when
No,
replacing
no, no.
would
Now we're talking about top six, no more top four. Top six.
well, replacing would be an exaggeration. Clubs have downtime every once in a while. Um, it's normal, especially when you do not plan well, that things like this can happen. Tottenham have had downtime for like two or
Super
three
Eagles.
seasons now. They've had downtime for like 2 or 3 seasons now, which is more than
And it's continuing. That downtime is
which
continuing.
is more than we've expected. So, and normally, if a team is messing up, other teams will fill in their spots because everybody's here to compete. So, I would say that at the moment, um, Newcastle and Aston Villa are actually doing almost the same thing that Tottenham did when they started. When they started this, when they started to put themselves in conversation with the big boys, because at some point we knew the Premier League to be top four. When Tottenham and I think Man City, rose up or woke up, it then became a top six conversation. Who's to say that it's not going to become a top eight conversation eventually if Tottenham gets their
Yeah,
acts together? So I wouldn't say
it's heading
replace
there.
is the word. I'll just say, well, maybe we should give Tottenham another 2 years. See if they are going to get their acts together.
Wow.
If they do not get
Two
their acts,
years.
well, come on. We've seen clubs in Barca era for longer than that. But if they do not get their acts together, then we can, confidently say, oh, Tottenham does not deserve to be in the conversation for this top six anymore. But at the moment, you would still consider Tottenham a top six club. Um, they would need to, really mess up more than they have for you to then take them out of that conversation. So for me, at the moment, it would be top six, then Newcastle and Aston Villa. But over 2 years, that opinion could change, obviously. Welcome, Cass.
Well, fair point.
Yeah,
Our
yeah.
Arsenal correspondent is finally in the building. Uh, is sharing the Super Eagles jersey with me. Let me just ask him a quick question. Cas,
Yes.
is Nigeria going to the World Cup or not?
Uh, I doubt it with the kind of attitude we are putting into our games. I doubt it.
What if we pray? What if we start praying now?
We all know that prayer without work is even in the Bible. It's zero. It's nothing. So no matter how much you pray, we are not the only country that prays before football. Even Brazil prays sometimes before they start their games. We've had very good players from Brazil that are very good Christians.
What if you
The
pray the
latest of
most?
them, I
Pray more
think,
than
is
your
Maurice
opponent.
Firmino. Yeah, so it's not football. Is not about how much you pray. It's about how much you put in the right people in the right places, putting the round pegs in round holes, getting the right players to play the right positions. No favoritism. There's no football team that can survive the way Nigeria is trying to portray their trade out there. I don't think it's going to work. We don't want to build. We just want to jump from 0 to 100 and just get things going. It doesn't work that way.
Anyways, good to have you on the show.
Thank you for having
Uh,
me.
I know we've left the international scene. We just finished talking about Newcastle and Aston Villa. But I just want to ask us, uh, who are the two best national teams currently?
I will pick Argentina first because what I saw Argentina,
Okay.
what they did against Brazil, it got me scared. I was so scared. I said, this team, they've gotten to a stage. I don't know, maybe it's the ginger to play Brazil that made them play that way
Argentina is playing tiki taka in
with
Allegri's
aggression,
system.
with a bit of aggression.
They have the
You
they have a
know,
fine they have the
it's
fine
like
blend.
Simeone
They
is
have a
the
fine blend between technicality and rascality. You understand? Whichever way you want it, they will give it to you. You want it
honestly.
rough, you have been their guest. So currently, I would go with Argentina and Spain because I tweeted currently that I want to see a matchup between both sides. I want to experience how that game go down. Not in a friendly setting, a more competitive setting where both sides would actually go all out. That would
There's
be an interesting game.
there's a match coming up. Argentina versus Spain, finalisma. Uh, uh, FIFA has not fixed a date yet, but finalisma is coming up between Argentina and Spain. And we don't know when that will be, but everybody's looking up to that. Cass, is Spain your second team also? Yinka is shaking his head.
Because I'm,
Well,
I'm actually trying to think.
Inter will say Nigeria.
for me, nah.
Come on.
So I will not say Spain particularly because if you look at the difference between Spain and some other things that you can point to, like what Netherlands did, we know what France can do because I don't really know exactly what's going on with France. We know what France can do. Like what happened against Croatia might be making people feel, oh, maybe France is not there. They've got the quality, but I don't know exactly what's going on within the team. So Spain is not really far from these teams I just mentioned. So I can't really say exactly Spain, but then if I'm to pick anyone, I would have said Spain anyways. But not like Spain is very far. But the distance between like I said, what I
Cass,
saw
Cass,
Argentina
Cass.
did, yeah.
Is it Spain or France?
No, I mentioned three teams. I didn't say Spain. I said Spain, France, and
No,
Netherlands.
no, no. It's
And I
two. We're
said
asking for two. Just give us two.
I wouldn't be surprised if
Argentina
Cars
and
ends up saying Arsenal.
Spain. Nah. I'm not going to say Arsenal. Don't worry.
Argentina and who, Cass?
Argentina and Spain.
Argentina and Spain. Ahmed, Argentina and Spain. Yinka.
Yes.
Well, obviously there's Argentina because they look very confident in the way they play now. And like someone tweeted recently that you have a lot of Diego Simeone school of thought players. I don't know how to describe those players. You have too many players that have this Diego Simeone mentality, but with a bit of flair because you then have Lionel Messi, Nico Paz. players that are born with flair. So that team is really really good. But for the second one, I'm caught between France and Spain actually, because I think that in terms of the system, Spain is actually a very good watch. The way they move the ball around, the way they try to exploit their opponent's weaknesses. But in terms of actual individual quality, I think France, edges it. France is actually a team that, especially depends on a lot of individual quality to create up front. So it's difficult for me to select, anyone. But because of the type of football that I like to watch, I would say Argentina and France because I feel like France has the balance of proper defending and, attacking play, maybe better than Spain.
Played a bit of football. Like they have so much talent to shoot.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
exactly that's exactly
what
my point.
they give at the end of. So they might actually grind out to win at the end of. But you are not actually convinced with
Yeah,
their performance.
that's the point. That's the exact point that I'm making. In terms of system, Spain actually has a very good system, very beautiful to watch. But because I'm the kind of person that favors balanced football, and I know that when it comes to defending, France can sit back for say 89 minutes and then depend on that individual brilliance in the 90th minute to get a 1-0 win. I would probably favor that because at least I know that football is about defending and attacking. So I can almost guarantee that France might not concede, even though they've been conceding quite often recently. But I can almost guarantee that France might not concede, and they have the quality
Ahmed's
to get the
goalkeeper is in post, so they will concede. Well, personally, I'll pick Argentina and France. Spain, for all their system brilliance, you can sense a bit of frailty in their play. And if you saw the match between the Dutch team and the Spanish team, every time Spain went ahead, you can feel that they are about to lose it. There's this naivety in
lives.
their
I
play,
wanted to say that.
and there's this naivety in their play, and it's because they are lacking quality, experienced players. The team is very young across board, and Morata is probably the most experienced player in the squad. So personally, I will go for France. France can, if you watch France versus Croatia, they wanted to kill Croatia. France can bombard you. They can defend well, and but then it's good to have these exciting teams. The Dutch team is a good team too, but they always flatter to deceive. I can't.
Anyhow,
It's
on
in
that
their
You
DNA.
Shivas.
can see they are play. They are honestly they are playing well, but you are almost sure they will lose the match.
It's in their DNA. They are
You
like
can't even
the
explain how
Tottenham
they
of
will lose it
national team football.
Of
of
national
national
team.
team. So
Second place.
that's just my that's that's just my take on that. Uh Quickly, I just want, since we're talking about a similar topic, the UEFA Nations League, a friendly tournament that has now become uh, an official tournament, an interesting one at that. And in the semi-finals, we have Germany, Portugal, Spain, and France. Portugal is another team that plays as if they are possessed. They are not possessed positively, oh, they are possessed negatively. You watch these players individually in their clubs and you are happy. They are fantastic players. But once they come together, you can just see that you can see the lack of cohesion. I'm not talking
There,
about
there is a
Ahmed
cancer
Leao
up
now.
front.
You want them to drag you.
Personally, I do not agree that Ronaldo is holding that team back. Personally, that's just my own personal opinion. I don't know. I don't know if you share that school of thought that
I think it
Ronaldo
does
is the problem.
mentally.
Well, it might not be the only problem, but it's part of the problem.
I think it does mentally
Hmm.
because there are moments on the field of play. You will see situations where, uh, for example, the obvious passes, a pass to um, Rafael Leao or Joao Felix or whoever. But you don't want to get that Ronaldo look for not uh, giving you for you not giving him a pass. You understand? So we've seen situations where players are forced to pass the ball to Ronaldo instead of giving it to a better option, a more open option. So they have seen cases like that. In fact, in their very last game, cases like that presented itself. There was a pass that was meant to go to Rafael. Dalot chose to give it to Ronaldo. I was like, why would you make such a decision? So that was what I meant by there's a counter up front. But um, this is not a stain on Ronaldo. This is not me taking a shot at Ronaldo. It's one of the greatest that has ever played the game. Is but at this point, I think he's throwing that thing back a bit.
I mean, he still has
Newcastle,
something to offer that team. I just don't think he should be offering it as a starter or as a regular in the team. And I agree with Ahmed that there are some obvious passes that you would expect more obvious passes that you would expect players to make in that team. But they often look for Ronaldo, maybe because they want him to score or because they are probably worried that he might not be happy if he doesn't get the pass. And obviously, because the guy is a legend, you do not want to get on his bad side. So I also think that coaching is part of their problem as well. I don't think that Roberto Martinez, yeah, that's his name, Roberto Martinez has gotten the best out of the players he has. But I know that it's usually difficult for national team coaches because you do not get to spend a lot of time with these players. You just have maybe a week or 3 days to get them together, explain what you want from them. But these are professional players. These are players that are doing well at their club. So you would expect that Roberto Martinez should get the best out of that squad. He did almost the same thing with Belgium, and I was doing the same thing
he
with,
ruined he
with
ruined
Portugal
that
now.
thing.
So I think it's one of the problems as well.
Cass,
Yes, boss.
do you agree with the Ronaldo submission so far?
Uh, well, I agree, and I will even take it a bit further. Let the team. Yeah, you have something to offer, but don't tell me that there's no one in that Portuguese national team that can probably give, if not more, than whatever it is that Ronaldo will give. Them staying in the team will you can see the effect of Messi not playing. The last two games, Messi didn't play. You can see the way the movement of the ball was. It was more direct. They knew what they wanted to do. They went exactly for what they wanted to do. There was no fear of not being able to, oh, I can't pass to Messi, or what's going to happen. Because you know the influence of Messi on the whole national team. And same thing also goes to Ronaldo. So let these guys fair share. Let the new guys come on and then, do their thing. In my opinion, I believe the Portuguese national team has good crops of players that can do better than whatever it is that they're doing now, with or without Ronaldo. So I don't think Ronaldo should even be should like the fact that they are trying to prove a point, still playing Ronaldo for 90 minutes is not helping the team as a whole generally, irrespective.
Yeah, I don't agree. He should be playing 90 minutes also. And from a
Ronaldo,
tactical point of view,
you only had to see the
it's
team
a,
before
no,
talking
no,
about
no.
it
You
in
can take
Saudi.
Ronaldo off. Look, you can take Ronaldo off. If you play Ronaldo and you lose, they will sack you. If you take
There has to
Ronaldo
be
off
an on-field
and you
meeting.
lose, they will sack you. It just takes a manager with balls. A- And from a tactical point, I even there's a flaw in their starting level. You can't play Leao beside Ronaldo. You are already two players down.
You have to go there.
You are starting with eight outfield players with Leao and Ronaldo. So I don't know. Something has to give. But then Leao is not the subject of discussion. Germany, Germany kicked out our Italian team
As expected.
in a bizarre fashion. Uh, I expected more from the Italian team, and they came to the party when the party was already late. They lost at home. They went three goals down in Germany. Then they mounted one political comeback that didn't amount to anything. Yinka, the Italian team, can will they go to World Cup like this?
Well, the World Cup group, I think I saw the group. I think the toughest thing I think of at the moment would be Denmark. No, Norway. I think it's Norway. That's the
Haaland,
yeah. Well,
ha,
it's Norway. I think Italy should be able to handle Norway. Um, I think that they should qualify. I think that the future is bright for Italy as well. They just need to keep introducing, some of the, would I say better? Because I wouldn't call them, world beaters. Italy has not really been producing world beaters for quite a while now. As far as I'm concerned, if you take, say, Nicolo Barella, Sandro Tonali, Wells,
Bastoni,
Bastoni,
Samuel Richie.
and
Donnarumma.
some of the Inter contingent, Richie Cup, some of the Inter contingents out of that team, then you are left with a very, very average team.
We are left with my skin.
Exactly, you are left with a very, and as Serie A fans, because we see most of these guys up on, there's this tendency to always want to hype them and say, oh, this guy is a very good player. This guy is very good. But most of these players are not really international level players. I saw the way they ran rings around Rovella in the first leg. And I was just like, it's not the same Rovella that we hype, on a weekly basis in Serie A. I mean, he couldn't touch Goretzka.
Jorginho
He,
2.0.
he couldn't touch Goretzka throughout that first leg. He was just, using him. And then Richie played in the second leg, and then it was almost the same thing. So they will learn, because these guys are still young players. They will learn, obviously. Italy needs to keep that core together. Obviously, by the time Rovella, Richie, and some of these other younger players mature, you have the likes of Barella. Barella is already, say, 26 now, already in his peak, say maybe 29, 30. If you blend them properly, have a very good line, because Italy has also struggled with producing proper nine, say, maybe since, in fact, I would say it's over 10 years now. In fact, maybe Balotelli was the last proper nine that Italy produced, as far as I'm concerned. So if you can blend them with a proper nine, then maybe something like that can happen. But if we look in the short term, the World Cup qualifiers, Norway looks like the only serious team that can stop them. But I still think they have enough to,
Until
to,
they
to
start.
beat Norway.
Cass, finally from you.
Yes. Um, I would agree with most of the things that you said. Actually, I believe in building. Building is a gradual process. You don't want to jump from level 1 to level 10, all because you want to. If it will take them missing this World Cup to get it right, to go win the next World
No,
Cup.
they should not miss this World Cup.
No, they
They've
should
missed
not
how
miss.
many
They've
now?
So
missed, they've missed enough
they
No,
recently.
missed
relax.
two.
They've missed two in recent
No,
time.
Are they
Brazil is
competing with?
most likely. Brazil is most likely not
Are,
going. So Italy is not the only team
are
it's
they
happening.
competing with Nigeria?
Brazil is most likely not going to this World Cup as well. The way things are
No,
going.
Brazil.
No, Brazil will
I said
go.
they might not go. I'm not saying they won't go. I don't have issues with them. I
So
want them to
it's
go.
this World Cup that we're having 40 teams. I mean, how many teams are we having? The next World Cup, Brazil will go because there
I
are more
think I think 30,
contestants
30
representing
teams.
each continent.
Continent.
Okay,
There are
so
10 teams in their qualifiers, and 1 to 6 is going. So
So Brazil will finish in top six.
all right, let's wait and see. I don't want to come with my mojo again, like one of my brother would always say. But I want to believe we should continue with the building. We should continue with, like Inka said, introducing the young players into the team. Let them come, let them see what it's like, because it's a different ballgame entirely from the league and playing in this national team, and then their competition, the way the setup of the competition is. So over time, I think we would benefit from whatever. But like Inka said, we need a nine as well. All the ones we have now, they're just there to just decorate that position. We need someone that can actually give us what the likes of the Giladinos,
is Kamaka a
the
joke to
Giroud.
you?
I
Or you
have a
take
question. Why is Cat saying we? Is Cat an Italian now? Why is he saying we need a nine?
I don't,
you know
They need a nine. I
you
beg, no be
know
will, na day.
when
Like,
when Nigeria is about to fail you,
I don't. You
Nigeria,
know
you
the
need to
funny
cast
thing.
your net.
I'm just
You need
in.
to cast your
Nigeria,
net
I'm just
to
in
the
Nigeria.
available ocean.
I don't think I've
Nigeria
ever
don't show am
supported
shege,
Nigeria.
they kill me.
This is my witness. I don't think I've ever supported Nigeria in any competition uh, for as long as
Say we
15,
need a
We
20
are
nine,
years.
we
Syria
need a nine
fans.
cup.
Italy is our second home. Cast, I'm behind you. We
All right,
need a
fair enough.
nine, not Moise Kean.